Good evening and welcome to the FITT Show. Financial information for today and tomorrow. I'm Bobby P. Kinzer,
And I'm Thomas Doty.
and we are the FITT Show, helping our people get their finances in shape, which is so important. Welcome, everybody around the country and even around the world. All the people out there in England and Scotland, thank you for staying up. We know you are 5 hours ahead and tuning in. We really appreciate everyone. We want to thank you, as always, for tuning in. Thursday the 16th. We're here every Thursday at 8 p.m., except next Thursday, which is what? Thanksgiving. We take a break for Thanksgiving and be thankful for all that we've been given. So that's definitely a positive. Last week, we did maximizing credit cards. That was a lot of information, and once again, a great response from the people. So, as always, we would like for you all to make sure you click on the like button. That's how we actually get traction on Facebook, especially to reach people. It's very important that you click on that heart and that like button. And we like to make this an interactive show. And the way we can do that, since you're not here in the studio with us, that you actually comment in the comment box. And it also exponentially increases our viewership, the comment box. So, but let's use it for, any comments that you may have, opinions on something we're saying, questions, or if you have some idea on another subject you'd like to talk about, please use that comment box because that is what we uh, want to use that as the way that we can be interactive and reach out to you all. So don't be ashamed to put some comments in there. We always appreciate that. So please make sure you do that. And also, as always, a reminder, we want to let you know we're not financial advisors. We are financial educators. We're not getting paid for any of this information. We just want to empower you as much as we can with as much information that can make help you to make your best financial decision for your financial situation. Remember, there's no one size fit all, but information is not just power. Information is just that it's information. Knowledge is not power. It's just information, but action is power. So you got to make sure you apply a lot of these things we talked to you about. Um, just want to remind you, this week we got an interesting topic. We're going to talk about choosing healthcare. Now, this is a pretty big one because I know a lot of people already have health care, and you might think that some of this might be redundant, but you'd be surprised. You need to review your health care like you review your financial uh, plan and portfolio. You got a health portfolio. So we're going to talk about some of those things in a minute, but we're going to start off like we always do. We're going to start off with the stock market. Now, Doug, you've been on a roll. Last week you gave us some great news. Let me see. Are you going to be 2 for 2?
Man, I'm 2 for 2. Everything's going really, really well right now. It's kind of crazy how things are going because the October numbers as far as inflation came in and said things are pretty flat, and is that a good inflation report probably means the Fed's not going to raise interest rates again this year, and all the market pretty much reacted positively to that. Dow had 4 days of a winning streak, and I don't know if you remember last week, but things were really good last week too. And so for October, consumer prices were unchanged on average, and so they were only 3.2 higher than 1 year ago. But from September to October, they really didn't change. Now, the big drop in gasoline kind of helped, obviously. I mean, gasoline prices have been going down. But even if you exclude food and energy, the prices only changed like 0.2 for the month and 4% over the last year. And so groceries didn't go up much. Restaurant prices didn't go up much. So it was all good news for consumers. Used car prices are continue to go down. And with the holiday coming up, that's seeing the prices go down is kind of a good thing. And so as long as inflation stays under control, we should see interest rates going down or not being raised. And
Well, they did go down the mortgage, 30-year mortgage interest rate.
yeah, but I mean, as far as the Fed cutting the Fed rate, that probably is not going to happen this year. But we'll see how it keeps going, and maybe next year we'll be looking at the interest rates actually going down. So for the week, Dow had another real good week. I don't know if you remember, it was about the same last week. Dow's up 3%. And I said that Dow had a 4-day winning streak. NASDAQ's had a 5-day winning streak. The S&P is actually up 5 days in a row. The Dow was down slightly today. But for the week, Thursday to Thursday, it's up 3%. NASDAQ's up 4%. And some of the stocks I hold are doing really good. I mean, Microsoft is back up there at 376. It's up 15 points. Tesla jumped 24, but it was down 9 today. So that's the roller coaster. Apple's up 8. Pfizer's still pretty flat. I think I'm going to sell that soon. And NVIDIA continues to roll. It jumped up a bunch. It's up 25 points. And remember when it was at 406, I said I thought about buying some more because, I mean, the way I feel, you get a good stock. The price may go down just because the market issues, but that doesn't take away from the fact that it's a good stock. So that's what I try to do. I try to find good stocks, and when the market goes up, they usually go up too. So that's where we are at. So hopefully things will stay positive, Bob, and I can go 3 for 3 next week or week after next.
Well, another thing that probably helped though is they signed a continuing resolution to stop the stopgap from, closing down the government.
Yeah, I don't think that really played a part because it's still kind of month to month, but this is all I think it's all interest rate driven. I think the fact that we're starting to see some moderation in inflation is what's driving this because look at all the interest sensitive stocks. They are rolling.
Right.
They are rolling.
Well, I tell you what, if they would have closed the government, it would have affected.
Oh yeah, yeah, maybe, yeah.
No, that would have sent the lenders, the people who borrow from us. That makes things very suspicious, and because we got the lowest, we're managing the lowest debt, with our bonds compared to other countries.
Right.
Servicing bonds at like 15, 20%. We servicing our debt at like what, about 5% now. That's low managing debt. But if you start, nigging on payments, then that makes stuff a little shaky, because America, which Trump used to think everybody to come to us, they're going to other places now. They're going to other places, they're going to China, they're going to there's a lot of other places, Sweden, there's a lot of other places people can go and borrow, money now, you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
But I just want to give another little benchmark for people. When you look at the Dow and the NASDAQ, the current close, to give you some idea, in 2016 to around before the pandemic of 2020, really probably 2019, November 2019, the Dow was rolling and it had been rolling for, I think, it had to be about at least over 7 years. It was just going up. And around that time, it was at 36,000. Right now, it's approximately 35. We're not far off of that. And the NASDAQ was at 16,000. It's at 14. So that gives you a little indicator of where we at right now, considering, 2 wars and inflation and fighting and bickering on Capitol Hill and threatening to close the government and climate change, all these things that are going on, man. It's the economy is ticking right along, though.
There's a lot going on, man.
It's a lot, man.
Huh?
It's a lot, but it's amazing that the market is where it is. That's the point I just wanted to make,
Yeah.
But let's talk about cryptocurrency, though. Now, cryptocurrency was rolling, right? and it's down. You know, the cryptocurrency market cap is down 20. That's billion, by the way, but it's still at 1.4 trillion. Remember, around about 2019, it was at 2 trillion. The Bitcoin was rolling, and all of a sudden now it's down from last week. It's $473 per Bitcoin. It's at 36,124. But this is, check this out, though, just to give you an idea about the volatility of cryptocurrency. In April of 2019, what do you think the Bitcoin was at, though?
No idea.
$5,554.
Really?
Yes. Wow. And as of October 2021, what do you think the Bitcoin was at?
No, I don't have. I wasn't looking at it back then. I don't have a clue.
$68,789 per Bitcoin.
Dang.
But look at it now, it's at 36,124 per Bitcoin. But this is the interesting thing, though. Check this out. But Wednesday, the Bitcoin was at $37,964. So that was like a 5% drop. In other words, it dropped from Wednesday to today, $1,758. So that's just giving you a little idea of how volatile the cryptocurrency is. And what's happening, though, because you know how cryptocurrency runs is really about consumer confidence. It's interesting that when it gets up, what's happening, a lot of, they call it the whales, the people who put real major millions of dollars in, they're taking those profits off, and that's what causes it to go back down. And then what they do, when it goes back down, they get back in when it's lower, because they got those little small margins they can make because they have big money on the table. So that's what usually happens when you have those big swings. People who got in like in 2019 or who got in, after, say like last year, for instance, you could take those profits off the table and do very well just within that year. So just want to, give some real data on the volatility of cryptocurrency, but it's still a viable alternative currency out there, you all. Just wanted to let you know. And no,
go ahead.
No,
just a side note. Just read an article that talked about not so much Bitcoin, but more specifically cryptocurrency, and how that's the main way now that the fraudsters are scamming people 60 and above is with Bitcoin transactions. So just a reminder, if you get a call from somebody you don't know, don't answer it. Same with emails, just be very cautious of anybody coming at you and talking about Bitcoin. And a lot of them is kind of like, you can make X number of dollars if you do this. Don't believe it, because that's one of the major scams right now is Bitcoin. So be careful with that.
And though it was so interesting, some 401k plans were allowing people to invest in cryptocurrency. Remember, a couple of NFL players took their salaries in cryptocurrency. Took their full salaries, or sometimes their bonuses. I'm like,
a couple of them. I think Odell Beckham lost a bunch of money because
it was Odell Beckham.
He got a bunch of money to lose. So
yeah. I mean, they playing with house money, I guess. That's the way to look at it. So, Dope, what about healthcare? Choosing healthcare.
Yeah, and typically this is not a subject that you would think we would be talking about. But if you're talking about taking care of your money, there's a lot of money that could be saved and a lot of money that could be lost when it comes to getting health care and health insurance. And it doesn't matter if you're getting it from an employer, or you're getting it from the marketplace. Looking for the right insurance for you it can be scary. It's just not that simple. And so what we're going to do is talk about some of the key vocabulary, some of the plan options that are out there that you can consider, and just how to help you choose the best plan for you and your budget. The different types of insurance plans. It really is complicated. And each have their own pros and cons. And so you might want to choose a high deductible, uh, which might make you eligible for a savings account. There's a whole bunch of things out there. And we're going to just try to give you some idea of what's out there and some things you should be thinking about when you get ready to make that decision of what health insurance to pick. Because we are in the open enrollment period right now.
Yeah, and by the way, Modestine put a comment in there and she asked, speaking about health and healthcare, Modestine said, "How are you doing, Bob?" And Modestine, as you can see, I'm doing very well. The heart procedure went wonderful. I'm taking off of all restrictions and I'm feeling great. So thank God to modern technologies and thank God to healthcare. Because I'm sure that's going to be a major bill. So it just goes right in with our theme today. Now, depending on your budget and medical needs, you likely have some kind of health insurance plan. And health insurance is one of the most important purchases you will make. So it's important to thoroughly understand the key advantages of a health plan. And the biggest benefit of purchasing health insurance is that it prevents erosion of long-term savings. And because of the rising cost of quality health care, having health insurance means you can avoid one accident or health problem from creating unmanageable debt. Now, the idea of health insurance is simple. Medical care can be expensive, and most people can pay for it out of pocket, but it will cost you. Now, health insurance is now required for everyone in the United States, and people who don't have health insurance can paying penalties that increase each year. Now, parents can keep their children, thank God, now on their family health plan until they're 26 years old, and that is such a great feature. Thank God for Obamacare on that. But after that, your children have to get health insurance on their own or through their employee. So choosing health plan options can feel like a challenge, but it doesn't have to. So let's get into the health care discussion, though.
Okay, yeah, and we're going to talk about how to pick the best health insurance plan for you. And things you should know about it. Now, the first thing you got to know is some of the terms that affect health insurance costs. With any plan, you'll come across the following words or phrases, and you got to be familiar with them in order to help you make the right decision. And that first one is annual premium. That's typically what you're going to pay for your health insurance to your health insurance carrier within a year. That's the charge to have health insurance coverage. And it typically is broken up into monthly payments, but sometimes could be payments every other week or twice a month, depending on how it's set up. So if it's an employer plan, it obviously depends on how they set it up, but a lot of cases it comes right out of your pocket. And so in 2022, the average annual premium for single coverage for employee covered plan was about $7,900, which to me, that's crazy high. Family coverage, $22,463. That's according to a Kaiser Foundation. So just paying a premium doesn't mean you have no other healthcare costs. Even if you have other healthcare costs are high, you still have to pay your premium. So those are things you have to watch out for. The next one that you'll see a lot is deductible. That's the one when you see that, usually you get a little nervous. And that's the amount you pay for your covered healthcare costs each year before your insurance starts to kick in. So even though you're paying premiums, your insurer isn't necessarily covering all your costs right away. Your deductible resets at the start of each plan year. So you may have a deductible of like $5,000, for example. And until you reach that point, you have to pay out of your pocket until you get to $5,000, and then your insurance kicks in. certain things they might cover. But you also may have a deductible on an office visit or a deductible on a particular medical procedure. So there's two types of ways you can have deductible. Make sure you understand what your full year deductible is and what your deductible is for each medical situation. You'll see co-pays and co-insurance. The copay is a fat feature insurance your company sets up as your cost for each covered health care service. Yeah, I guess I'm kind of calling that a deductible too, but they're calling it a copay. And they can vary by category. Like for the policy I have, I pay a 0% copay if I go see a regular, my regular primary physician. But if I go see a specialist, I got a $25 copay. And so, and it's funny because like on emergency, if you go to an emergency situation, you might have a very high deductible. Copay. If you stay overnight or if you don't stay, a lot of those things make a difference in how you end up paying. And you'll get in a situation where you're within your network or not in your network, but we'll talk about a little bit more about that later. Co-insurance, that's the percentage of cost you pay for covered healthcare services after you've met your deductible. So instead of a flat fee for medications, you may have a 20% co-insurance charge for some prescriptions. And they have these prescriptions in different tiers, and the generic stuff is real cheap, but most of the stuff that you'll probably need is probably in an expensive tier. That's just kind of how it works. Out-of-pocket maximum. Hope you never have to deal with that. That's the most you will have to pay before insurance covers everything. And for a lot of the insurance companies, it can be pretty high. Now, fortunately, the Affordable Care Act put limits in 2023 of a maximum of $9,100 a year for an individual and $18,200 for a family. It's still a lot of money to pay, and hope nobody has that much health care need to get that. And so you have to pay that in order not to have to pay any more. Pretty much insurance pretty much covers everything after you've hit that maximum. And that doesn't include premiums. So don't get that twisted either. That's totally separate from premiums. You have to continue to pay your premiums even if you hit your full year max.
Yeah, man, health insurance can be a little daunting, though. So, but outside of understanding those terms and the basics, which I think a bunch of you all know, but you need to look at that because those premiums can change too. But outside of that, you need to understand the different types of healthcare plans, right? Now, during enrollment, you'll usually get a few kinds of health insurance plans to choose. I'm sure you heard of HMOs and PPOs. And HMOs are health maintenance organizations, and it's a network of healthcare providers who agree to accept certain levels of payment for the services. This allows HMOs to keep costs consistent for you. After enrolling in HMOs, you need to choose a primary care physician. You'll see that PCP symbol a lot because HMOs require referrals from your primary care specialist. That's why you can have lower premiums on those. Then you have the PPO, which most common health insurance plan employers offer. Similar to an HMO, but a PPO, preferred provider organization, offers a network of providers. But PPOs tend to be more flexible than HMOs because they have a wider pool of in-network providers. Going to an out-of-network provider may cost you more, though, than a PPO plan. Now, a lot of people know about HMO and PPOs, but there's also the POS, which is the point of service. Now, think of this as a partway between an HMO and a PPO. It's similar to an HMO because some of the point of service, which is POS's plans, require you to choose a employee, excuse me, I'm getting tired of the name, the primary care physician, right? And so you get to choose that. And similar, In fact, the name of the point of service refers you to a primary care physician, being your first stop for healthcare. It resembles a PPO because it can stray from the provider network. You just might have to pay a lot to go outside. If your primary care physician referred you to an out of network provider through, though, you might get a discount. So that's the difference with a point of service. And the premiums tend to cost less than PPOs, but point of service plans offer less flexibility than PPOs. Now, the other plan, which a lot of people don't do, but it's definitely works within like your healthcare plan and as far as financial planning, is called a HDHP, a high deductible health plan. I know a couple of people that have this. And the let me just say high deductible health plan, also known as a HSA, health savings account eligible health plan. It is similar to the plan types mentioned above and will generally have a broad network of providers. Now, the high deductible health plan tend to have lower monthly premiums than non-high deductible health plans. This means that you'll pay less every month, but you also have a higher deductible. Now, if you enroll in a high deductible health plan and meet other eligible criteria, you can pair it with a health savings account, right? Now, let me just give you a tip. Don't forget about the tax advantaged ways to save on medical expenses. The HSA is considered a triple tax advantage account because it can be funded with dollars you haven't paid taxes on yet. So the health savings plan can potentially help you gain tax-free interest and investment returns on funds contributed to the account, provided the money stays in the account. And you don't have to pay taxes on any of the funds with your withdrawal. That's the interesting thing about a high deductible payment plan. You can actually link it to a health savings account and receive tax benefits. And you don't have to pay taxes on any funds you withdraw to pay for qualified medical expenses. Your employee might also contribute money to the health savings account every year. And the money is yours forever, even if you switch employers or take some time off from work. Now, that's not the case for what they call HRAs. That's called health reimbursement arrangements, which can only be funded by employers or the flexible spending accounts. I know you heard of FSAs, with funds you have to use or lose each year in flexible spending account. But still, both allow you to use pre-tax dollars on qualified medical expenses.
Yeah, and another thing that's really tricky is you have to review the plan's networks. And the health insurance plans, they get a network of providers and they agree to charge a specific cost for their services. And those are your in-network providers. And as long as you go to them, you get that the price that's been set up, the contracted price. But if you go outside of your network, their services tend to cost a little bit more money. And make sure if you go into a doctor, if you have a choice, make sure you pick a doctor that's in network because it can be cost prohibitive to go to one that's outside. And you got two sets of deductibles with in network and out of network. You got two separate out-of-pocket maximums with in network and out of network. So you might be willing to take a smaller set of network providers, get a lower premium, but you got to factor in the fact that the higher deductible and out-of-pocket max for going out of network, when you crunch your numbers, if your doctor or healthcare facilities are not covered. So make sure you and they get really tricky with that if you're in a hospital. Because I was in a hospital once, and the hospital was in network, but they had to bring another guy in. Another doctor came in to see me, and he wasn't in network, it just doesn't make sense. If you go to a hospital in a network, you would expect all doctors to be within a network, but that's not always the case. Now, not that you have anything you can do about it. If you're in a hospital and you need help, you're going to take help from whoever you can get, but just another thing to watch out for.
Now, this next one may sound intuitive, but Consider your health needs to estimate your cost. Now that you now that you know plan components, you're ready to compare costs. Now you look at the premium and the copay, co-insurance costs, as well as the deductible levels and out-of-pocket maximums. Then, if you had health insurance before, check out how the previous health coverage has suited you. Did you meet your deductible? Were some preventative services covered or not before you met the deductible? Did you pay a lot in premiums and barely seek out services? If you didn't come close to meeting your deductible, you didn't need a lot of care. A plan with lower premiums and a high deductible might be worth considering. Now, even if this is your first time choosing health insurance, ask yourself, does your employer contribute to the health savings account? If you pick a plan that offers one, that could lead to what's essentially free money. Or do you want an HSA for its tax advantages? If so, you might want to pick the high deductible healthcare plan that comes with an HSA. Also, ask yourself, would you rather have a higher premium and greater levels of coverage or a higher deductible? Now, lower premium and higher deductible might work better if you don't anticipate getting a lot of care. Now, if on the other hand, you have a chronic condition or anticipate many health care visits for the planned year, then a low deductible health plan might save you money overall. Or if you see your primary care physician regularly and want a budget friendly option, a HMO might be for you. These are a lot of things to consider, you all, and you can consult online with the health insurance plan calculator. There's many in there. Just Google health insurance plan calculator to get an idea of the cost for each available option and then make your pick. Remember, if you don't choose the best health insurance plan this time around, you'll be able to switch in the open enrollment period.
Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit more about open enrollment now because that usually comes around once a year. Now, yeah, you can switch next year, but you got to live with whatever you choose for the next year. So hopefully you make the right decision. So we're going to talk about some things you should be thinking about, questions you should be asking during open enrollment. And it's always kind of a scary time when you get to open enrollment period because you got to make that decision that you're going to be stuck with for the rest of the year. So you got to ask the right questions in order to choose the right health plan. Okay. And we always talk about like reviewing your finances. And this is another piece of work that you're going to have to do in order to make an informed decision. I mean, obviously, there's no way anybody knows what's going to happen next year as far as your health, but you just got to base it on history or base it on how you're feeling and give it your best shot and make a decision. And so an article we are working from, it suggests taking a personal health audit, okay? And that's understanding your current and anticipated healthcare needs for the next year, and that's going to help you decide which plan fits you best.
So, one question in open enrollment you should ask: are your medications covered? If you're on,
that one's are your doctors in network is yours.
I'm so sorry about that. I'm prematurely adult. Are your doctors in network? Which you talked about that earlier. Plan networks change from year to year. You must remember that. If you love your doctor or specialist, make sure they're still in. Go ahead, bro.
I'm sorry, I dropped my phone.
Oh, okay, I thought you asked me. If you love your doctor or specialist, make sure they're still in the network of the plan you're considering for 2024. Now, you should also consider whether you want the option to go out of the network, which you can usually do in a preferred, excuse me, in a preferred provider organization or a PPO plan. Although it will cost more if you go outside of the PPO. Now, health maintenance organizations or HMOs tend to be cheaper, but they lack the out of network flexibility.
Yeah, and now we're talking about medications, and that's another tricky one because you got to check and make sure that any prescription medication you take are are covered by that particular insurance plan. And it changes year to year. So you got to make every year you got to check and make sure that your drugs are going to be covered. And for example, if you just because you have Aetna this year and you decide to stay with Aetna, doesn't mean that they didn't make a change in the formulary. So you really have to take a look at it every year. And a lot of different programs have you can go in and put your medications in, and it'll estimate what they cost under the different insurance plans. So take the time to do that and make sure your medications are covered and that the cost is not going to be too crazy.
Another question, and you talked about this term though. What are the out-of-pocket costs? Every plan has set costs, like the monthly premiums, plus the cost of care, which include the deductible and any co-pays and co-insurance. Now, comparing plans means estimating how much health care you use next year, right? So, on one hand, you have the cost you paid if you don't use the plan, much beyond preventive care. On the other hand, you have the maximum amount you could pay in each plan if you're a heavy healthcare user. You can easily compare these situations. That's the key. There's a squishy middle ground, though, however, where the best plan for you depends on the amount and type of care you need next year. Now, the tricky part is we never really know how much we're going to spend in a given year if we're in the middle of the year, right? That's just a fact. But the best thing is to look at your current claims information and imagine that the next year will be identical. On which plan would you be better off? It's best, it's the best predictive modeling you can do at this point.
Yeah, another thing to consider, a question you should ask is if a high deductible plan is right for you. And that's one where the premium or the deductible in 2024 is at least $1,600 for an individual or $3,200 for family. And the out-of-pocket max for a single is $8,050 and $16,100 for a family. They usually have lower premiums. Sometimes companies kick in a little bit to help you with the higher deductible. And it can be a good plan for somebody if you're young, healthy, or if you're healthy, period. And you just got to be prepared in case something happens that you have the money to cover it. Because if it is a high deductible and you break your leg, you're going to have to pretty much cover that by yourself up to your deductible amount. So it's kind of a crapshoot, but you kind of have to take your best idea and see where you're at, as Bob talked about previously. All you can do is base things on where you've been and go from there.
Just want to inform individuals who's on today. My sister Nolia Melton, who is a health benefits person for years, and she's been over those for many companies she worked for. So she's been putting a lot of information into the comment box, like HMOs are really preventive care programs. You must use the facilities exclusively. She also talked about earlier about you can also make changes in a qualified life event only. So thanks for your comments, Nola. We really appreciate it because we know your expertise in that area is it's very good. Another question is now this is a very interesting one though. Can you stack your benefits? Can you stack benefits? Now, you might have access to voluntary benefits through your employer that can help cover costs that your insurance doesn't cover. For example, Aflac policies have helped pay expenses if you have an accident or get cancer. If you find that you can get a high deductible health plan plus a supplemental plan that will help you cover your deductible for less than the cost of the traditional health plan, it can be a lot less. It could be a lot less than moving to the next tier where the deductible is lower.
Okay, and last thing I want to talk about is if you have special care needs, and some insurance plans cover special things like maybe a weight loss surgery or infertility treatments, and some don't. So you really got to look at those and see if the plan you want covers those things if you have any special needs. And you have to go in and dig and look through all the paperwork they provide, or if it's on the internet, go through and look through to see if what you're looking for is covered. And they don't make it easy, and it does take a lot of work, but you don't want to go into the year thinking something is covered and find out it isn't. You really have to do your due diligence there to make sure you get the best plan for you.
Yeah, so that's important, and we covered a lot there. But I just want to let people know healthcare is so important, and we know how much that means, right? But the one thing we need to understand about healthcare is the biggest thing is your healthcare. Your health is, if you be proactive and do the things that keeps you from having to go into the hospitals. That's more important than anything. Health insurance is so important to have, and hopefully it's like, the insurance that you have on your house, that you don't really need it for a fire and hope it never happens. That's how health care insurance should be. The White House did an actual study on climate change, and this statement I'm going to have is not a political statement. It's a scientific statement and based on facts. They're saying that the climate change can really, in the future, really harm your health, because they're showing that past few years, climate change has been over like 3 or 3.6 degrees each year. Has been increasing in this some miraculous numbers. But I just want to tell you, give you some statistics that say that heart-related deaths that for people over heat-related deaths for people over 65 years old increased over 83% between 1990 and 2000, and above the 38% increase if they were expecting people to 65 or over to pass from heat-related um, deaths was considered 38% if the climate didn't change. So what I'm just saying is we live in an environment these days with so much pollution and gas, and that's why me and Dope is going to be talking about. We're going to be doing a show on electric vehicles, because it's going to be very important, y'all. Because the study also showed that if you just switched a school bus from diesel gasoline to electric, right? Just doing that alone, it can improve a child's asthma who rides the bus by about 30%. And within a month after that switch, a child will be 30% less likely to have asthma attacks, and also less likely to have to enter into emergency room because of asthma. So, healthcare, health is really important. Um, and so we thought this show, we hope it gave you some good information. But I want to take you now, because as always, we give you about 20 pounds of information in a 5-pound bag. So we're going to do the takeaways, though, summary takeaways for today. And they're very simple. Let's go there. Boom, boom, boom. And I'll take it on the first one, right, though?
Yep.
Understand your plan. Understand your plan. And that was the thing that Dope was talking about: the premiums, the out of pocket, the copay, the co-insurance. Uh, these things are very important. And remember, these things can change. So just within your plan alone, look at if your health condition change, you need to look at your plan to see if it's the right applicable level of benefits and payments that you're paying that is for you. And that's not only if your health gets bad, but if your health improves and you're not going to the doctors much, you might want to look at it and you can save some extra pennies on that, because this is your health care. It also affects your bottom line when it comes to your money.
Yeah, you got to understand the different types of plans. Again, you got to do your due diligence, because there's a bunch of different things out there, and you need to understand how all of them work, what the pros and cons of each one. And it is kind of a guess to figure out what's going to happen to you next year. But all you can do is take your best shot based on the information you currently have. But take the time to understand everything that's available.
And choose the right plan during open enrollment. Okay, now everybody's open enrollment. There are different times for open enrollment, so you definitely need to check that. But just remember, if you miss, making a change, you always got, next year that you can make these adjustments to your health insurance. But, make sure you choose the right plan during open enrollment. That's why they have it, so that you can adjust it accordingly to fit. Like we say with, financial plans, health insurance plans is not one size fit all either. So really understand, your situation, because it can be the difference between life and death, and also the difference in you depleting your funds.
Yeah, and Bob touched on this before. Your health is your wealth. If you are healthy, and it's funny because a lot of the health care plans have incentives for you to stay healthy or to keep you healthy. A lot of them will reimburse exercise programs. A lot of them will give you money to get checkups. I mean, that's one of the things we're lucky that Bob did. Bob was seeing his cardio regularly, and they saw something a little bit out of line, and they were able to go fix it. So you gotta stay on it. You gotta be very judicious in doing the screenings and the exams, and a lot of those are covered in most healthcare plans. Your annual physicals, for guys, the prostate exam, for females, the mammograms. Those are the kind of things you've got to be diligent about getting those and making sure you're keeping yourself healthy, which in the long run will obviously help you live a long life, but can also cut your healthcare costs. And so just stay on top of it and do the best you can to try to be healthy.
And I just got to make this public service announcement, though. Men seem to be very less likely to go to the doctor. We like to self-diagnose ourselves, being a tough man. And I don't know if many of y'all saw the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar commercial about atrial fibrillation. And I thought he was selling something, but he wasn't selling nothing. It wasn't even a product. He was just telling people how important it was that he kept ignoring, the feelings of getting lightheaded, short-winded. He said he couldn't walk far, long, and he just kept ignoring it. And fellas, my doctor told me, Bob, you're an athlete. You're used to pushing through the wall. You know what I mean? We're used to, pushing ourselves, going past. But he said, those days are over. Your body will tell you all. Listen to your body. So with that, I want to do roll call. Garnett Nickens, how are you, dearest? Oh, so glad that you joined us, Garnett. Wonderful self. My sister Nolia, thank you for those wonderful comments, Nolia. Your expertise helps and adds to us. And good evening, Linda Sy, which is my oldest sister. That means she's not old, but she's just the oldest of the sisters.
That was smooth.
I cover myself.
That was smooth, Bob.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Modestine, hit us in the comment box. Are you down there now? And where did Modestine say she was going to South Carolina?
Yeah, I think she's down southwest of the state.
Yeah. Are you there yet, Mo? Let us know. We'd like to know because we're going to actually do a retreat down at your spot. We're going to do a FITT Show retreat down in Modestine. Remember, you heard it here, ladies and gentlemen. And hello to Rodney L. Madison Sr., thenoteexperience.com. Rodney, I know you're still holding those mortgage notes, making all that money. You're going to have to share that information with us very soon. Gloria, how are you doing? Gloria Browner, who is my other sister. She's the second oldest sister and the third oldest out of 7. Hello, Gloria. And Joanne Skinner, how are you doing, Joanne? So glad to see you, dearest, and thank you for joining us. So with that, I just want to say thank everyone for tuning in as always. Next week, we'll take a hiatus because it is Thanksgiving and want to give time to give thanks for giving and for giving thanks. So happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Don't eat too much turkey and don't eat too much of that macaroni and cheese and those potatoes with gravy. God damn, my mouth is watering already, though. I'm hungry than a mug. Hungry than a runaway slave out this mug. So look, y'all, have a good week, and we look forward to seeing you week after next. Though that will be actually the 30th, right? Yes, that'll be November the 30th. We will see y'all front line and center. Remember, keep putting in the comment box any type of topics you'd like for us to cover or questions you had about any other things we did on the shows. And remember, you can go out there on Facebook Live in our archives on YouTube. And please, you all, on YouTube, subscribe, and on Facebook, share. That's how we can get this information out. Oh, and here comes up in the rear. What's up, Carl Chapman? He just threw it. You normally the first one on there, Carl, but I'm glad you made it. He says, happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody, and we'll see you 2 weeks from now. Peace.